Ken Griffin is an founder and chief executive of the Chicago-based hedge fund Citadel. He's a billionaire investor, right? And he apparently gives a lot of money to politicians. And I want to tell you a little bit about that and his philosophy because it's very relevant to corruption and politics. So first of all, he's given $150,000 in this election cycle to restore our future. That is Mitt Romney's super PAC, and he's very proud of supporting him. He's also given $560,000 to the Republican Governors Association, so you begin to get a sense of where he stands. He's almost all for Republicans, and he's given $300,000 to American Crossroads. Well, that is, of course, Karl Rove's group. That was in 2012. In 2010, he has given $500,000 to American Crossroads, again, the Karl Rove group, $500,000 to Stand for Children in Illinois. Hey, look at that! That's the first time we've seen on the list something that isn't totally Republican politics. Is he not merciful? And then the Griffins, so Ken and his wife, have given $1.5 million to the Koch brothers to make sure that they give more and more to conservative causes and Republican Party officials. So you're very clear on which party he backs. When asked, hey, you know what, all of this seems to give great influence to these enormously wealthy funders over these politicians. What do you say about that? Well, Ken Griffin's told the Chicago Tribune, quote, I think they actually have insufficient influence. Really? These gigantic funders have insufficient influence. He'd like to have even more so. Okay, he explains. Those who have enjoyed the benefits of our system more than ever now owe a duty to protect the system that has created the greatest nation on this planet. And so I hope that other individuals who have really enjoyed growing up in a country that believes in life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and economic freedom is part of the pursuit of happiness, I hope they realize they have a duty now to step up and protect that. Understand what he's saying there? Those who would like to pursue economic freedom, in other words, no regulation, let us take whatever risk we want, let us rob whoever we want. I don't want any regulators watching over us, because then that wouldn't allow us to do the things that we do to make billions of dollars, because they might actually try to protect the pension funds that we're representing. They might try to protect our customers, our clients, etc. They might try to protect other people in this business. We don't want that. So I hope that other people who have had the benefit of that realize how important it is to buy Republican politicians. I'm sure they do. He continues, at this moment in time, these values are under attack. This belief that a larger government is what creates prosperity, that a larger government is what creates good, is wrong. We've seen that experiment. The Soviet Union collapsed. Oh, please. President Obama has not even come close to bringing back the same regulations we had back from the 1940s to the 1990s, where we actually had a relatively stable banking industry that did not collapse over and over. It worked. It was not the Soviet Union. In fact, it was the golden era of America. We haven't even come close to going back to that era in terms of regulation, and these guys who are purposely trying to deceive you cry uncle and say, oh my God, it's like the Soviet Union. Nonsense. He continues, I think a lot about these issues these days. I'm seeing the manifestation of an over-involved government in every dimension of what we do here at Citadel. It is really brutally unfair what it's doing to large segments of our population. Oh, I know, Ken. I know you're really worried about large segments of our population. Who are you kidding? Get off of it. You're worried about the tiny, tiny segment of the population called the Griffin family and how many more billions you can have. You think that it hurts our large segments of our population when you get more breaks in terms of regulation, when you're allowed to take greater risk with their pension money. Who are you kidding, man? God, you know the thing who he's kidding? I read the whole entire interview, 9 pages in all. Mostly he's kidding himself. He gets himself to believe this crap so he can wake up in the morning and feel like, oh yeah, I'm in the business of allocating capital. Oh, I help everybody. Oh, I'm helping large segments of our population as I pocket all this money. So there's nothing wrong with making money. There's something wrong when, one, the government gives it to you, as it did under TARP, as it did when the Federal Reserve gave out the interest-free loans, and he says he's against that. Oh, I'm sure you are, Ken. I'm sure you are. And then number two, when you go to buy those politicians and you lower your taxes, well, those taxes got to come out of somewhere. So what happens? Taxes on the middle class go up. Services for the middle class are cut, which you're ecstatic about. You're the one hurting large segments of our population. He continues, I think if you look at the realm we're discussing, which is the political realm, I think it would be impossible to find an action by any politician intended to specifically favor either my firm or myself. That's not the driver of my involvement. That's a good one. No, I'm giving millions upon millions of dollars to these politicians, but I have no self-interest in it whatsoever. I'm just trying to help the overall population. Really? You expect us to believe that Mr. Billionaire Investor is giving away millions of dollars, and he's not giving it to, hey, let's, solve cancer or et cetera, et cetera. You're giving most of it to these politicians who wind up cutting your taxes and cutting regulation on you, and it's just a wild coincidence. You have no interest. No. You're so generous. You're such a charitable person. You're trying to look out for everybody else. Here he goes again. Now, wait a minute. How about the fact that you give this money? Do you expect to get anything in return? A meeting? Do you expect to influence the politicians? Quote, it is often constructive to meet with a candidate for a particular office, but what I believe what is most important is the candidate's track record. In other words, yeah, of course, after I give the money, I'm going to meet the guy, or before I give the money, I'm going to say, all right, are you going to do as I tell you? And he says, oh, yes, sir, absolutely, sir. Can you please give me the millions of dollars? And then afterwards, I'm going to keep a watchful eye on his track record to make sure that I got my investment worth. Not that this has anything to do with self-interest. No. But he better cut my taxes, because that saves me untold millions of dollars. He better do as he's told, otherwise he's not getting that money anymore. What, me? Self-interest? I would never be self-interested. Now, this is great, because the reporter asked him, hey, listen, how about all of your fellow CEOs and businessmen who are going to influence the politicians to get contracts from the state? He says, quote, shame on the politicians for listening, and my contemporaries who are willing to grovel for this money ultimately do owe a duty to their shareholders. Oh, that's beautiful, that's rich. So we're paying all this money, millions of dollars to the politicians, but shame on them for listening to us. Well, how about us? Oh, no, we owe no duty, because we owe a duty to our shareholders. We got to make them as much money as possible. So if we can buy a corrupt politician, of course we should. He elaborates. And if they can convince the state to write them a 9-figure check, as morally corrupt as it is for me to imagine asking for that check, it is profoundly more corrupt for the state to pay for it. Okay, so great. Oh, it's not my fault. I mean, I bought that bitch, right? But he shouldn't have been my bitch. It's his moral problem. I mean, me? No. I have no responsibility except to my shareholders to make them all stinking rich by buying these bitches. Okay, well, how about, for example, the CEO of Sears, who's gotten these deals in Chicago, Illinois? Quote, that's not fair. Given CEOs have duties to their shareholders, if the state's willing to hand out gifts, there are many who feel compelled to go get them. There you have it. So here's a guy who says, well, of course I'm going to buy these stinking politicians, and of course I'm going to make untold money from it. Of course I don't want any regulation. If you regulate me at all, it's like a basketball player that says, hey, you know what? I don't want any fouls called on me. And in fact, here, I'm going to pay you $100,000 to make sure you don't call any fouls on me, okay? And then, I can't believe how morally corrupt you were for taking my money and not calling any fouls on me. How dare you? But I don't want it, and I want you to lower my taxes to almost non-existent. Well, it's not my moral problems, it's their moral problems. You see, I'm just trying to help a large segment of the population. No, you're not. You're looking out for yourself, and you're driving this country into bankruptcy while doing so. Because you're so goddamn greedy, you can't see straight.